Welcome to another edition on Ladies Corner. I am your host, Nayananda, and I'm happy to have you join me on the show today. Now, today we'll be discussing a very vital and crucial topic, which is understanding and preventing violence against women. Now, this one is a very important one, and hence I have with me a young woman who has made it her life business to enlighten women and create awareness on such issues. Welcome to the studio, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. My name is Shiknan Sati, a woman activist for gender-based violence and the host for the podcast Breaking Boundaries.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now let's dive right into it, because understanding violence is one thing and then preventing it is another. But a lot of women do not even know when they are violated. They don't know when someone is trampling on their rights. So what does violence against women mean?
Okay, so before I give you my own analysis of what violence is, I would like to quote the World Health Organization. Here it says, any act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual or psychological harm or suffering to women, including threat of such acts, coercion or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public or private life, is violence. Now what this means, in other words, is that any act, any harmful act that is coercive, abusive, oppressive, or to an extent controlling, directed to the woman on the basis of her gender, and leads to psychological harm, physical harm, sexual harm, or any suffering of such, and then furthermore violate her dignity and freedom as a person, is what we call violence. So any act at all that is violating your fundamental human right on the basis of your gender is violence.
Thank you so much. Now, literally talking about this gives me goosebumps, because a lot of women feel that as long as it's not physical, I'm not being violated. I cannot show anybody. Okay, what will I tell them? There are no scars, there are no... So, what are there other forms? What are the forms of violence against women? Is it only physical? Let's know if there are some that people don't actually know about.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good question, actually, because just like you said, you hear a lot of women saying, for them, except if there are scars and all of that, that's people's resolution on what gender-based violence is. But then there are actually more. We have forms of gender-based violence like emotional violence. What about emotional violence? Emotional psychological violence. What about economic violence?
Seriously.
And all of that. For physical violence, it's the most common kind of violence, actually, because it's the violence that includes physical or forceful harm, now leaving the injuries, and all of that. However, there are other forms of gender-based violence, rather, which is now emotional or psychological, as the case may be, that people do not even know about. I'll give you an instance. I think following the story of a popular celebrity, Kathy, she's actually divorcee right now. She divorced her husband because she is married to a younger person. Now, if I get the story correctly, she happens to be the one shouldering the responsibilities of the house. And she can't or couldn't really say much about it. Why? Because he is younger than she is. Do you understand? So it now gives her a sense of low self-confidence. So any form of act at all, whether verbal abuse, that would lower your self-esteem is emotional violence, and it is also part of what women face but don't necessarily recognize it. Because the most common notion of violence is the physical violence. If it's not beating me, it's not, yes. I can manage it.
Like, you see a woman shouldering the responsibilities of 5 children, and with the husband inclusive. And Because he's not beating her. She's the mother, she's the father, and she's everything. And the society has nothing to say about that because she's supposed to endure.
She doesn't even have anything to say about that, because she doesn't even think it's a form of violence.
Yes.
Some of them will tell you, I am helping my husband. The same husband who, I would usually say that it is okay to assist your partner if the circumstances is not favorable. I mean, that is why it's a union in the first place.
Yes.
You're supposed to assist yourself and all of that. But then it is different when there is an intentional shift of responsibilities. You're out there saying you're the head of the house and all of that. What the head of the house does is to show that responsibility. But then now there is a shift, in the roles. But then the women do not even know because as far as they are concerned, we are helping our husbands. Now that same man is out there fornicating or committing adultery with other women while you are in here taking responsibilities or shouldering the house that he should. So I really feel that a lot of women need awareness on what violence is. Having them understand that violence is not necessarily when he kicks you or slaps you or beats you only. There are other forms of violence, that could affect you psychologically, that could affect you emotionally, that is also harmful, that can also be calculated as gender-based violence.
Yes.
As long as, for me, I feel as long as there is a shift in that responsibility intentionally, without any circumstances attached, I feel it is violence already.
It is actually.
Because the woman does her roles as the woman and then now carries your own responsibility as a man, and you're there doing nothing.
You're just manipulating.
You're not sick. You're not even scouting for jobs. Exactly, you're manipulating her.
Yes, that's what they do.
Using guilt tricks like, I'm not.
Come
on.
You're a dedicated one. All those stuff.
They tell you doing that is being a virtuous woman. I'm sorry to disappoint women out there. That is not being virtuous.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for shedding light on that. Now, this question: how common is domestic violence in Nigeria?
Okay, so domestic violence is actually the most common form of violence. Now, domestic violence actually carries a wider spectrum. Under domestic violence, we have the physical violence, we have the psychological violence, we have the sexual violence, and all of that. And if you're looking at the forms of violence that is concurring in Nigeria, it is, I think, on the scale of, if there are parameters to measure them,
on a scale of 1 to 10.
on the scale of 1 to, or even to 100,
Yes.
as the case may be, I would say that up to 60 and 70%, is or falls under domestic violence. Because under same domestic violence, we have components like culture and traditions.
Yeah.
And we know that if there is one thing that has encouraged justifying gender-based violence, especially in Nigeria, it is culture.
True.
Like I said, the occurrence of domestic violence in Nigeria is alarming. If we are to make references just from 2020 to 2024, checking controversial situations alone,
Yes, not the ones
you'll be alarmed. Exactly, because there are a whole lot out there, but then people are actually scared to even come and report, or because of discrimination and all of that. In 2020, we have Walia Omozua, a 22-year-old in Benin City, who was gang raped and murdered. Furthermore, in May 2020, we have a 16-year-old for crying out loud, 16-year-old Tina Ezekwe, who was fatally shot by a police officer. All of these are domestic violence, which falls under physical violence.
Yes.
And then checking sexual violence, checking psychological violence, which we do not even know the rate, because most people still are yet to ascertain what emotional or psychological violence are.
Yes, so they don't
even
rate it.
Yes,
They don't
even rate it. So truthfully, Domestic violence is the most common violence in Nigeria because, like I said, all these other components, sexual, psychological, physical, and the rest falls under it. And checking the list of the kind of violence that we have been facing, they all fall under these components.
Thank you very much. Now we'll be going for a very short break, and when we come back, we'll be diving deeper into this topic, understanding and preventing violence against women. Go nowhere. Thank you. Welcome back, my people. We are still on the topic understanding and preventing violence against women, and my guest has been doing justice to the topic so far. Thank you very much, ma'am. So moving on, I feel I should ask this on behalf of all the women. What are the root causes of violence against women? Are there something that just make these abusers go after women, like
Patriarchal norms. Belief that places men dominant and the women subordinate.
Yes.
The
head and the neck.
It's if it were the head and the neck, it would be better. It's almost like the head and the feet or the toes, or even nothing. A man is okay. It's okay for a man rather to do certain things. It's okay for the man to go after women. It's okay for the man to do this. It's not an issue. But when the woman does, it's a problem.
It's okay for a man to cheat.
Yes. For instance, which is very true, by the way. Not to talk about other things. So what this is simply saying is that there are systems that have been placed by the society that places men above or dominant over women.
Yes.
And that has therefore encouraged abuse. And then another component is traditional factors. Traditional factors, I feel, go a long way in encouraging gender-based violence. So for instance, I feel like aside patriarchal system, we have traditional norms. Traditional norms also go a long way in encouraging, or should I say, promoting gender-based violence. We have female genital mutilation. Come on. Why should the girl child go through such amount of pain just because you do not want her to enjoy sex? Because you are afraid that she'll bring shame. Exactly.
Without her consent.
You are afraid that she'll go out there, do something and bring shame. Why? We have a widow's rights. It is okay for any woman who loses her husband is automatically a witch, or is automatically the one who killed the husband and must go through certain insane traditions just to prove her innocence. Now, that is different if it is for the man. When a man loses his wife, that goes.
He has pity.
That is it.
Pity of all the community.
That goes. Nobody says anything. But if it is the woman, it becomes a national issue. Oh, she killed her husband. Oh, she must have done one or two things that led to the husband's death and all of that. So you see, traditional norms also encourage, or I feel certain traditional norms promote or justify gender-based violence against the woman.
Thank you very much. Okay, everyday life, we get to meet abusers every day. Because even when you want to enter a taxi these days, they say this place is, the women don't sit here, women don't do this kind of business, women don't become drivers, so we get to meet them every day.
Sure.
But what are the threats of an abuser? What are the characteristics of an abuser? This is for someone who is going into a relationship, for someone who is already in a workspace and needs this kind of information to keep herself apart from this kind of people. For someone who is going into marriage, what are the things she should look out for?
A man who is controlling, who is unnecessarily controlling. Watch out for such men.
Mm.
A man who isolates you from your friends, a man who does not want you to meet your family, a man who doesn't want you to invite anybody. In fact, a man who doesn't even want you to say hello to another person. Watch out for such men.
Mm.
Men who are highly jealous and possessive. Watch out for such men. Now the thing is that we have women who will tell you that, well, if he doesn't do all of that, how do I know that he loves me? Really? He loves you to the extent that he's preventing you from seeing your family. He loves you so much to the extent that he's stopping you from visiting friends.
Mm.
For me, I feel any man who is even attempting to do that is hiding something. He probably doesn't want her to share what is going on with her to other people. Therefore, he's stopping her. So that's for the married couples.
Her life will revolve around
just him.
Yes.
You know. Now that is for those who are already in, the union. For my single ladies, please, any man who cannot tolerate you saying hi and hellos or exchanging pleasantries with other people, run away from such man. Any man who is jealous enough to beat you and tell you, sorry, I did it because I was angry, run away from such man. That is men who cannot control their anger or rage.
But they can control it with their fellow men. No?
Yes, of course. Of course. I mean, try it. If you touch the other man, he will beat you.
He will beat you back.
But when it comes down to the woman, it becomes a different thing. That's why I said initially that we have patriarchal systems that have placed men dominant over women. You see, so run away from men who are highly possessive, who are highly jealous, men who can control their rage, who can control their anger. Stay away from such men. Don't go into any marriage or relationship with the notion that you can control him. A man who beats you, even if he had done it just once, run away.
Run, no.
It actually starts with just once.
Yes, actually, it's true.
You know, run away. Please don't go into the notion thinking that I am going to change. There is nobody who can change anybody, only God. You can only make an effort. And then leave the rest for God.
Yes,
But don't go into any marriage thinking that, oh, you're going to change this man and all of that. No. It is most likely that it runs in his bloodline. And you're going there with the notion that you're going to change that man. So please, stay away from men who can control their anger. Stay away from men who abuse you physically and verbally too. Oh, I don't like your shape. Oh, I don't like how you are looking. Oh, I don't. Verbal abuse. And then you're there continuously being in love with somebody who doesn't even appreciate how you look.
You
I won't even make an effort.
Go for a slim woman.
Go for a slim woman.
Don't make the slim one fat. Don't make the fat one slim.
Do you understand? Or better still, you can actually employ certain strategies in helping her out. Is it the exercise? Okay, let's do the exercise. Is it you stopping if it is necessary for you to stop?
Doesn't have to be
late in the night. Let's do it together. And
yes.
Don't body shame her. Don't play with her self-esteem. Any man who does that to you, even if he is not beating you, even if he is not kicking you, he's not slapping you, once he is verbally, continuously abusing you, putting you down, stay away from him. Because I can bet you, expect the worst from such men.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So, okay, are there resources made available for survivors and women that are already undergoing this kind of, because someone might want to talk, but she doesn't even know who to talk to. I don't want to talk to my nosy neighbor who will carry my matter like onions on her head and spread it around the neighborhood. So are there helplines or anything that can help someone that's already going through this?
Yes, there are hotlines in Nigeria from organizations like DVRT, Domestic Violence Response Team, Mirabel Center, who are willing to respond to you immediately should in case you are in such situation. All you need to do is to just report. There are also shelters, there are there are psychologists in NGOs, in hospitals that are ready to attend to any woman who is going through such situations. So yeah, if you're going through such, please go to the hospital. You could see a therapist. They could prescribe see a psychologist, or you could even call any of these helplines, DVRT for instance, or Mirabel Center, and they would respond to you immediately.
Okay, thank you very much, because Please repeat the name again.
Yes, DVRT, that is Domestic Violence Response Team and Mirabel Center.
Okay.
Aside that, we also have therapists and psychologists which are available in hospitals.
Thank you very much. Now, we have probably, someone might have a family member who is going through domestic violence and, who is being violated, and they don't know how to help that family member because the family member doesn't want to leave her husband or maybe all of those stuff. Yeah. So how can we help our closest loved ones who are facing this already?
Please listen. Always listen to them. For the ones that are bold enough to want to talk about it with someone, listen. Listen with non-judgmental ears. You know, don't be like, oh, okay, you must have done this for him to have done that to you. It is not anywhere, it is not placed anywhere that a man can caution his wife is by beating her or abusing her in some sort of ways. She's not your child. She's your wife. Even if she's your child, you shouldn't abuse them. So please, when you hear these people, when the bold ones are out there telling you that, okay, I think this is happening, please pay attention to them and don't make judgments. Another way is you can encourage them to report to the necessary authorities. Please do that with their permission. Because when you are helping a victim without his consent, that can also be calculated as violating her rights, or even abusing her too. Okay. So please encourage them to report, and if they can't, if there is a way you could help them to, please do. Listen to them with no judgment, please. Encourage them to report to necessary authorities in situations where they cannot. You could, but with their consent.
Okay. That being said, what role do you feel men play in preventing violence against women? Or what role should they play? That is, if they are not playing it already.
That's, should I also say, an ironical question and a very interesting one. Why? Because most of the perpetrators are recorded to be men. However, there are other men who are, who are sane enough not to be part of, such abusive acts. And there are some who are also willing, to stop it. So men can come in this situation by intervening. Should in case they are witnessing any abuse of any sort, they can actually intervene and help, the woman or the other party. And we could also have men who advocate, and challenge such issues that challenge gender-based violence. If a man is the one advocating, it should make some sort of difference.
Yes.
That a man that are known to be the perpetrators are now the ones yes. So I think that should give other men, the abusers, it's like some sort of assignment or food for thought. What is now making it different? What is making this man different from me that he is now advocating for such? So men could go out there and advocate, challenge gender-based violence, and they could also intervene should in case they witness situations as such.
Thank you so much. So when discussing violence against women, we prioritize sensitivity, respect, and of course safety.
Sure.
So that being said, what is your advice to young ladies and women out there?
Okay, so my advice to women generally out there is always place boundaries. Number one, avoid isolated places. Place boundaries. If you're saying no, let your no be no. Don't say no that means or that looks like yes. At the end of the day, you have the final shot. If you're telling him no, no it is. So please, let's place boundaries. And should in case we have found or we find ourselves in such situations, please let's report it immediately. Don't wait because you are hoping that along the line it might get better. It never does. Don't wait until you're dead. So please, if you're experiencing such, report it. If you're observant enough to notice that someone close to you is experiencing such, please, with her permission, report it as well.
Thank you so much. Like, you did a lot on this, and I'm so glad that you joined me on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
And I believe that my viewers they have the knowledge now, at least, to know how to defend themselves, how to not get into the problem, and how to defend their young ones and their loved ones. So thank you so much. Okay, that being said, you know how we do it on Ladies Corner. We always have a game segment, which is sing it, rap it, or act it. So my guest here, we have discussed a lot, and now it's time to play. All work without play makes Jack a dull boy. So let's play a little. Which one are you doing?
Wait, what did you say it is again?
You sing it, act it, or rap it.
African Queen.
Okay. So my guest will be singing African Queen by Two Face. You know, it's good to go back in time because that was a very good song, and it still is a very good song. So let's hear it.
Okay, so please, I don't really remember all the lyrics, but once you hear the African Queen, I'm just singing. Okay. So you are my African Queen, the girl of my dreams. You take me where I've never been. You make my little
That was so nice. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really glad you came. Now, my people, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to Karma TV. And if you feel this topic needs more or we should do more, please drop a comment. This is still Ladies Corner, and I'm still your host, Naya Nanda. I'll see you next week. Thank you.